Good evening. I am Steve, and this is my rock and metal life once again, for whatever that's worth. Just chronicling all the places I've been and things I've done in the world of hard rock and heavy metal music, which is pretty much what I think about most of my waking hours and a lot of my dreaming hours sometimes too. But today, on this date, July the 9th, this is 40 years almost to the moment. It was right about this time. I was at a stadium show, my very first one in Fresno, California, and it was for not Joan Jett. Well, she was the headliner, but it was actually Loverboy as the headliner. Loverboy, Joan Jett, The Fixx, and the Red Rockers. And yes, Joan Jett keeps popping up around here because I did see her quite a few times, 3 times between 81 and 83. And yeah, she was there supporting her album right after I Love Rock and Roll, which was Album. Loverboy was touring for their third record, which was Keep It Up, and then The Fixx was touring for Reach the Beach. And this whole thing's kind of crazy out of nowhere. The summer of 83, after many years of not having concerts at what used to be the football and track stadium, used to be for Fresno State College, and then it was Fresno City College, and they still play football there, and they still have track and all that, but they used to have the West Coast relays there and everything. And this is a place, like, there's video out there, you can see the Rolling Stones, like early to mid 60s playing there, and like people are walking right up to them as they're trying to go on stage and stuff like that. And there were no concerts out there. Certainly not since I got into music and started going to concerts in 81. This was kind of a big thing out of the blue, shocker of an event. And like I said, it was my first stadium show, outdoor show. And, surprisingly, I haven't been to too many of those since then. I don't go to a whole heck of a lot of the mega events. But I have seen The Who, Guns N' Roses, and a couple others. But this was kind of interesting that it would happen here in Fresno. I was used to the mid-size arena and the theater-size arena, and so here we got like kind of an all-day thing outdoors, and we made a mockery out of it. Buddy and I drove up the night before, driving all over Fresno, which we weren't all that familiar with, but just to see what was going on. We ended up sleeping in the parking lot right outside the arena. Got up in the morning. I say the arena, it was the stadium. I got up in the morning, and there's people lined up. We went over to Winchell's Donuts and got coffee and donuts. We were in the line. And, of course, when they opened the gates to the stadium, we went pretty close up front. And, it was a heck of a show. It was one of those ones that I remember a little bit more about the event itself and all the things surrounding it, and the people that we talked to, and we sat here for a bit, and I mean, it was absolutely blazing hot, and we were on the field in front of the stage for the most of it. But there was a point when the sun went down that we actually went up and sat up in the seats, and we saw a bunch of Loverboy from up there. But I was down there. The actual opening band was called the Red Rockers, and they had a minor hit called China, and then The Fixx came out, and they were pretty hot. They were Reach the Beach was the album, and the single One Thing Leads to Another was pretty much everywhere. It was getting played all over rock radio. Everybody loved that. And New Wave was, it was here. It was here and now. Duran Duran was already out there. Culture Club was already out there. Thompson Twins, all that stuff. Next after The Fixx was Joan Jett, and she, she's pretty popular around here. She put on a great show, and, she did really well. Loverboy, boy, here's a band. There are some bands that, for whatever reason, it kind of gets lost to history how big they really were, and Loverboy's definitely one of them. I'm thinking about like Grand Funk, Blue Oyster Cult, maybe even Pat Travers. I don't know. There were bands out there that were just really popular and A-listers, and headlining shows, and everybody knew them and everybody loved them. and especially the early days of MTV, there they are. And I'm telling you, Loverboy was big. Loverboy was big, a little bit different. Um, they, I'm going to talk about the keyboard element of that band, because this is a band, and especially with New Wave, you had like this big controversy that I took part in it, and I think a lot of what I said in those days kind of doesn't really hold up, but oh, the keyboards, these are terrible. Okay, I love Deep Purple. I love Kansas. I love Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I love Styx. Oh, but keyboards are bad. Well, here's the crux of that whole situation. Some bands, and kind of on the new wave side, I would say, and I think maybe the new wave side is where it kind of muddied the waters, because if you're that, you're not, you're not rock, you're not Led Zeppelin, you're not Aerosmith, I guess. But Loverboy's keyboards were integral to the band's sound, and I would say, for the most part, gave it an upbeat sound in a lot of areas. Now, there are songs where the keyboards are pretty ominous, and they figure prominently on their first song that I ever heard from them, Turn Me Loose. So maybe not so much. I'm here to tell you, early 80s, everybody liked Loverboy. Everybody loved them. They were cool. And they came on like gangbusters. 1980, their debut album, just self-titled Loverboy. The Kid Is Hot Tonight and Turn Me Loose. Those two songs were huge. There's a song on there, Lady of the 80s, and obviously that doesn't hold up very well, but not that was on the radio too, and that one's kind of lost to history altogether. And then I would say this: they got a song on side 2 of the record, Prissy Prissy. Was that's kind of cringe, but first record really good, and with the keyboards being such a big part, this is a guitar band. Paul Dean on the guitar, he figures prominently in a lot of this stuff. And so like I was saying, if the keyboard gives it, too much of an upbeat sound, I guess, the true rockers have a little problem with that, okay. You got the sweet sounds of Mike Reno's voice, which is pretty powerful in spots when he wants to be. And you line that up with the keyboard. I don't know. I think maybe these guys aren't Van Halen. They're not necessarily Boston either. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say where they fit into the mix. I think Journey was kind of like a good comparable. And I'm talking about the era of Journey, like Escape, that kind of stuff. Not necessarily, back before Steve Perry or anything like that. But Loverboy kind of had their own thing going, and it was very accessible, and I'm telling you, everybody liked it. They did very well, were very popular. The debut was double platinum, and then they come out with Get Lucky, and to me, Get Lucky that's them hitting on all cylinders. That's just getting everything right. Working for the Weekend, of course, it's part of what's maybe had them pigeonholed or had them lose their place of how big they were, because classic rock radio, as we know, for the last 30 years at least, they've minimized Loverboy down to Working for the Weekend and Loving Every Minute of It, and you just don't hear these are the really good songs. But Working for the Weekend's a great song. It was perfect at the time. It's really cool now. Yes, they all across America, they play the song on Friday at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and that's great. That's cool, and it's a good song. The second track, When It's Over, to me, that's probably the best song on here. I mean, that's a burner, and Reno's voice is just brilliant on this. Really good song, 5 minutes long. Whereas Working for the Weekend was 3:41. That's what it should be. The next song, a favorite of mine, and I don't know if the people that remember Loverboy really like this, but I really like Jump. I like the guitar riff, the intro. Kind of a, could have been in the the Breakfast Club soundtrack or whatever. Not a real heavy hitter, but I liked it. Gangs in the Street, a little heavier. Emotional, up tempo, didn't really care for that. I mean, it's all right, but it's not. I don't know. I didn't care for that one so much. Lucky Ones, really like that song, and It's Your Life, Watch Out, and then the finale, Take Me to the Top. And here's where you got all the sounds, everything they can do. Guitar, keyboard, the vocal. It's 6 minutes long, 6:13. Great song. So I think Get Lucky's a fantastic record. 4 times platinum, so wasn't just me. Then we get to the one that I got to see him tour on, this show right here, Keep It Up, and maybe not one of the better album covers of all time, I don't know. But this record's got Hot Girls in Love. And, you can curse the 80s and the silly, goofy pop kind of thing, oh my God, chasing girls, let's go find some chicks tonight, blah, blah. And this is a great song. It's all of those things, and I love that song. It's a fantastic song, and it really, the kind of song that gets the crowd going too. Starts with this big, drum roll, and then the guitar cranks up, and here we go. And it's just a perfect radio song. Good up-tempo, upbeat song. I like it. Strike Zone, kind of like that one. I think that's a little heavier. It's a little harder song, and I think the subject matter is a little bit. I don't remember for sure, but I want to say that's about war zone somewhere else. It's Never Easy is a ballad. Chance of a Lifetime kind of doesn't hold up. Pretty good song, but they got the keyboard making the voice, and Queen of the Broken Hearts, pretty good. Prime Your Life, really like that song. And Passion Pit, I like that song as well. And then One Sided Love Affair, not so much. And then Meltdown. Okay, so we're 3 records in, and Keep It Up was double platinum. So they got double platinum, 4 times platinum, double platinum. 3 albums, 8 million sales. And that's just in the U.S. And then some time went by, and I remember at the time thinking it was a long time, but it wasn't. I mean, it was only 2 years, which is nothing these days, before they came out with Lovin' Every Minute of It. And I did not get that record. I've heard it a few times, and I like it. I liked hearing it. I don't remember it very well. There's a couple songs here, a couple titles that stick out. Don't really remember it all that well. But I remember I liked it, and I'm not sure why I didn't get it. 87, they came out with this thing. It's called Wild Side, and I like this one quite a bit. But it's not the kind of thing where they didn't really change, I don't think. Same formula, they didn't rearrange things or, go rogue or anything like that to go with the changing times. And it's a good record, and it went gold in the U.S., and then that was the last time that they got certified. After that, I did not follow along, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 records out since then, the most recent 2014, and I don't know anything about them. I know they still tour quite a bit, and, I've seen some videos. They came around here a few years ago, and I didn't go, but a coworker went and said, oh my God, Mike Reno's still got the voice, you got to see it. And I watched some videos, and yeah, he was pretty good. He could still get up there, and they got the songs, they got the catalog. It's a guaranteed winner. This show, July the 9th, 1983, once again, following the timeline. I'm just out of high school. I graduated in June. I'm leaving at the beginning of August, so like a month after this, I'm leaving to join the military. And then they throw this bash at the stadium, all day outdoor concert at football stadium in Fresno. Man, shocker. I couldn't believe it. And, I don't have anything. I bought, I'm going to say this out loud, and I can't believe these words are going to come out, but the shirt I bought was a pink half shirt that had basically like this picture on it, and it said Loverboy, and I actually found it online. It says Loverboy, Get Lucky 82. No, that's not it. So that's not the one I had. I got one that said it was pink, and it had the band picture, and it said Keep It Up, get it up, keep it up, something along those lines. It was, I mean, to think that I wore that anywhere is kind of bizarre, but I did, and then I don't know what became of it other than I remember I traded it to somebody for something, and I can't remember the time frame on that, but anyway, so I got nothing to display back here other than the Joan Jett shirt that I think I did get at that show. Um, and for Loverboy, I've got this greatest hits compilation, and they got a couple of them, and they're good. They're really really good. Um, if you were to say, Loverboy's the greatest hits band, you don't need to buy all the records. Um, yeah, you could get by with that, and you'd get, this is like 16 really good tracks. I would say buy the first three at least, and they were really rolling on this night. And the stadium had, I don't know how many people, and there was all kinds of controversy because, there's residential around the stadium, and of course people wreaked havoc, before, during, and after the show. I remember reading in the newspaper right afterwards, that some people just like parked their cars, just like in people's driveways, just like came in the morning, parked in the driveway, drove around, couldn't find a spot, just parked in a guy's driveway and went to the show, whatever, stuff like that. And then, of course, some people were smoking marijuana, and there were people, drinking beer and leaving their bottles everywhere, which I don't think any of that stuff's cool, but, it you kind of got to expect it at a show like that. So, anyway, I do remember, bouncing around Fresno the night before. We went to the warehouse and, might have gone to another record store, I don't know. And then driving around, buying beer, drinking, whatever. And then we woke up the next morning, and then we kind of like bonded with the people in line out in front of the stadium. But then when we went in, we never saw those people again. And then we hung for at least a couple of hours with some other people, on the lawn in front of the stage. And, it was a lot of energy and everything, but man, it was hot. And I mean, that comes back to me. And I'm a guy that loves, I live here where it's hot. I vacation, places where it's hot. I just got back from Phoenix, and it was 1:15 the day we left. But we go to Tucson, we go to places like that because that's where I like to be. And we were sitting there in that bowl, and it was hot, and it no big thing for a good long while, but man, once it gets you, saps your energy and everything. And so we had all the people around us for hours, and the Red Rockers came out, yeah, and then the Fixx came out, and that was really good. I remember them playing Reach the Beach. I remember them playing One Thing Leads to Another, Saved by Zero. I remember Red Skies, stuff like that. They probably played Standerfall. I don't exactly remember. And then Joan Jett came out, and she just does her high energy show. She's got everybody going. It was great. At that point, she's got the Bad Reputation record. She's got I Love Rock and Roll, and then she's got Album, which was the one she was touring for at this point. And, great show, and Fresno loved her. They really reacted, and it was high energy. Finally it's getting late in the day, and when the sun starts going down, relief from how hot it was. And I remember them, spraying everybody with water and stuff like that, and that was great. But then Loverboy hit the stage, and it was just so big and so grandiose. And like I say, my first outdoor show, to have the great big lighting structure and all that, it was, everything about it was big. It was, they were Led Zeppelin, or they were, Aerosmith, for all intents and purposes that day, because they were so big, and they came out and they played the hits. I remember them playing Lucky Ones. I remember, Take Me to the Top. Now, Setlist doesn't have anything, which really surprises me, because as many people as were at that show, I'm surprised nobody put anything up there. They've got it recorded that it was up there, or that they played, and it's got the 4 bands, which is correct. But nothing for a set list. But, I remember Hot Girls in Love. I remember Working for the Weekend. I remember those. But other than that, I remember, how they looked, the energy. I remember I clued in on Paul Dean quite a bit. I wanted to see how he was playing stuff, because, I didn't play guitar at the time, but, I thought he was pretty good. And I just wondered, where does he fit between, some straight ahead rhythm guitar player and Edward Van Halen. I just wanted to see what he was up to, and he was really good. The keyboards, big part of the mix. So it was like a big full sound, and it was a lot of fun. It was great, and with the sun going down and everything cooling off, I mean that just really, that's at the forefront of my mind when I remember this show. I just remember being out there in the sun all day and being drained. And when they came out, it was just a little different than, you got that shot of energy because, there's the headliner, there they are, and they've got the big stage, and they've got, all the production, and, and that's cool, and Reno's got the headband, just everything just like you've seen on TV. Okay, here they are. But at the same time, I remember ending up in the seats and just like relaxing. And I remember thinking, it's a little different because, I leave the other shows, the other shows I've been to, I leave those, wiped out in a different way. I'm wiped out because I've been, interactive, participating. And I remember thinking, for this one, man, I'm just, I guess this is what an outdoor show is, because really at an outdoor show, before the screens came like they are now, if you're not right up front and, within a certain distance, then, they're a long ways away and you can hear perfectly fine, but, to see what's going on, the farther away you are, the worse it is. And I remember thinking, cause I mean, if it was Van Halen, I would have died down there up front. I would have stayed there until it was over. Loverboy, maybe not quite on that level for me. And so, yeah, I'm just going to go, kick back. And we found seats up on the side. And they, now we got a different angle. We're like looking down at them, and that was kind of cool too. Cause I just remember thinking, okay, there's a lot of different ways to do this. You don't just sit in the front row at a theater show. You don't just, sit right there at an arena show. I mean, those are options, but, some people, like at a big event like this, some people just want to be here and they sit back and they follow along with the music, and they can't really see every little thing. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, that's cool, because, I mean, there's Woodstock, and then there's all these other, festivals and stuff that happen all the time. And sure, not everybody gets to see. You see the videos on YouTube and all that, but a whole bunch of people are, way back there. And some of those videos, people are filming the screens. But yeah, it was a little different feel for me. And I thought it was kind of cool. I thought, okay, it was a long day, long night the night before, a long day, sun beating down on me all day. And then, I was kicking back, watching Loverboy do their thing, and they were really, really good. Audience loved it. Of course, when you're back farther, you see the audience reaction a little bit more. And so, yeah, it was an eye-opener. And I went, my next, I don't know how many shows were arena shows like I had been used to, and I always endeavored to be up front because that's where I always want to be. But it was kind of interesting. And, I think about when I saw Iron Maiden, actually down, it's been like 5-6 years ago, I saw Iron Maiden on the Book of Souls tour, and it was where the US Festival was. It was at that Glen Helen, whatever that place is called, out by San Bernardino. And, we got there early enough, and we got right up front, and there was like, who knows how many thousands of people behind me, but there again, we bought pit tickets, so we were up in that very front area. And again, that's the way I do it. But if you're not so much of a Maiden fan, you love them, but not, I mean, I really wanted to be up close and see them because I never had before. The other time I saw them, I was more towards the back. So I wanted to be up front and see it. But, you could do what we did at this Loverboy show at the end there, and you could go sit up and have a good time and enjoy it and hear all the songs. And, so anyway, that's it. 40 years ago. And I mean, like, I'm talking about like 40 years ago right now, this thing was happening. And, I was having like a crazy summer because I knew I was leaving for the military. I was just like, let's do everything. Let's do anything we can. And this is clearly the pinnacle of it. This was the best thing we did all summer that year. And then when I got on the plane to go back to Illinois to go to boot camp, had these memories like burned firmly in my mind. I was just thinking about, man, when am I ever going to get to do one of those things again? But it was a really, really big deal. And again, Loverboy, man, great, great band. If they come around here, I don't know. I'll probably go see them. I don't know. It depends on what the circumstances are. But back then, they were one of the very elite bands. They rightfully headlined the show, and they had a big following. And at this point, they were in that run like where they can't do anything wrong. Kind of like Squire before he made the silly video. Everything they did, boom, it works. MTV wants it. They go on tour. They can't book the tour fast enough. And so it was like that. So it was really neat. And very much enjoyed it. Very good memories. And I always come back to, I was tired, I was wiped out, and I was glad I didn't have to drive back the hour back to where we live, because it was a really, really full experience. So good times. 40 years ago tonight, one of the great shows of my concert going career. I'll never forget it.